I'm going to try to give you guys an update about what we're seeing in all these transactions that we're doing right now and what comes up. Welcome back to the channel today. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the continued downturn in the Phoenix real estate market. We're going to include some important data, but yet again, we're going to turn to Zillow to see how people are overpricing their home and how it's delaying what their value is and how quickly they're going to get it sold. You see, in today's market, everybody's in a different situation. There's people that feel like they've probably missed the market. Most sellers are late to the party right now. They missed the peak. They don't know it. They didn't know it. And now they're finally deciding to sell. Why are they selling? Well, everybody's got a different reason, but maybe some of them want to capture these high prices for fear that the market's going to continue to drop further. So let's go take a look at some of this information and see what's really happening in the market. One other note. On a recent sale that we just had in McCormick Ranch, which is in Scottsdale, it was $1,670,000. All of a sudden, once we close, the HOA comes back to us and tells my client, your back wall is not compliant with the community. Now, somehow this slipped through escrow. I talked to the title company, and the title company said, hey, it wasn't in their resale disclosures. You see, when a person is buying a home in an HOA, you receive a big packet of information. This particular packet was over 15 different documents and many, many pages, including CC&Rs, HOA rules and regulations, amongst other things. Now, when they send out these documents, most of the buyers don't even read through them, which is a problem. But on the other hand, the title company didn't even find it, and the title company didn't find it because it wasn't expressed in the resale document. So now, after we close, we may have to spend $1,500 to get this wall patched and painted. The problem is, once we paint the wall with Arizona sun, you're never going to match the paint. Now, the sellers, we found out, did pay a fine to the HOA of $1,300 for something, but we don't know why the HOA would allow us to close and try to make my buyer become responsible for this repair. Ultimately, as his realtor, I'm going to work with him and help him get through this, whether I have to contribute part of the expense, whatever it takes to make my client happy in this new home. So let's get into the information right now and see what we can find out this week in the down market in the greater Phoenix area. So I love going through Zillow and finding out what's happening in the market. I'm going to try to give you guys an update about what we're seeing in all these transactions that we're doing right now and what comes up. But anytime anything comes up, that's what your realtor is for, to try to help you navigate. I don't get paid to drive people around in my car and show them homes. Of course, they can see the homes on Zillow. My job is to help clients get through a transaction for the best possible price, whether they're listing a home or selling a home, and get through the problems, because there's a lot of problems. I can tell you about another house I just closed this last week for $3.6 million, and we found something that should have been fixed on $1 million remodel. More about that later. So let's take a look at this property on Zillow. It's listed for $450,000. They just recently had a $10K price reduction. It's a single family home built in '79. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1975 square feet. Now, it's located in Scottsdale, and that's a prime Scottsdale zip code, 85251. As you can see here, Zillow doesn't have a Z estimate on it, or a Zestimate, as some people like to call it. And they do have a high HOA. Now, the reason that they have a high HOA on this one is because it's on a land lease. Now, Arizona doesn't have a lot of properties on land lease, but years ago when it was established, some families that owned a lot of property developed communities, and they had a lease on the land for 100 years, and then it can get renewed. As a matter of fact, I would never recommend buying on a land lease unless you're getting such a discount on the property accordingly. And we put my mom in a property on a land lease years ago. And the reason we did is, if she was on the land lease, because of that expense, it keeps the property value low. So we were able to buy her place for a really reasonable price. Now, the monthly assessment was reasonable at the time, because you figure about $300 to $500 a month to maintain a property, and in this HOA they took care of everything. But let me get back to this. So we have a property that's listed on the market now. So let's go back in the history of this property back to 2020. This property was listed in 2020 for $299,900. $900. They went under a contract and it sold for $295,000. So not a big discount, but that was in 2023. So let's follow this from 2023 on. Now they're listing it at $549,500, up 86%, $278 per square foot. Now that's in February 10 of 2023. Now we're looking a couple months later, they're at $548,500. Now they drop it down to $547,500. Now they're down to $546,500. Now we're into May, it's $545,500. Now it's down later in the month to $544,500. Now they take the property off the market in September of 2023 at $544,500. Now, I don't know, it looks like they probably either left it off the market or they had it for rent. They had a listing removed again, but now they go back on the market late September 2024. Listed for sale for $500,000. Now they drop the price later in the year, November, to $475,000. Now they're down to $465,000 in 2025. Now they're down to $450,000. So that just goes to show you, if these people would have priced their property properly back then they probably would have it sold. Now, some people couldn't go through this situation where the property's listed for sale for basically 2 years' time, or roughly 2 years. That's a long time on the market. And the one thing we know is the longer the home is on the market, the better a chance you're going to have for a price reduction. I mean, it's pretty much just a guarantee. Now, let's take a look at the 30-year fixed mortgage. Right now, you can see it's down. The 30-year fixed right now is at 6.76%. It's substantially down from where it was. And what does that mean? Well, it's coming down and inventory's going up. So yeah, maybe the market's going a little bit sideways, but the homes that are really selling right now are the homes that are move-in ready, and people can go ahead and buy the home. They need a home and they're moving in. So I have another client right now, we're selling their home. They're in a different situation. They need to sell because they're at their retirement age. They're a little over that. They're in their 80s, and they want to get their property on the market so that they can rent moving forward. It's going to be easier on both spouses if anything happens. And then down the road, if they decide they want to go into something like assisted living or something like that, they can, and they don't have to worry about selling their house at that time. There's just a lot of maintenance and things that come up on a home. On that particular home, something did come up with the HOA, and we'll talk about that in another video. Thanks for watching today. Have a great day.